10 random Magic cards rated day number 46, TGIF, everybody. Normally I start on the Scryfall homepage, but I accidentally already hit random once, and we landed on Persecute, and I didn't want to lose it because it's a pretty cool card. It's 4 mana, 2 and 2 black for a sorcery. Choose a color. Target player reveals his or her hand and discards all cards of that color from it. That's sick. That's so awesome, dude. I've always liked this card, man. As far as like the power level in Urza's Saga, this isn't quite as high as some of the other cards in that set, but it did see a lot of sideboard play back in the day, and it's still worth like a little bit. It's still worth something, you know what I mean? So, card is actually kind of cool. I don't know how much play it's going to see nowadays, but obviously if you have a commander opponent with like a billion cards in their hand and a Reliquary Tower or Library of Ling or some other way of keeping all those cards in their hand without discarding them, this will absolutely body them. Like completely body them. So, you know, even if they only have 7 cards in their hand and they're playing, even if they're playing 2 colors, you know, you can still name like blue and probably get like 3 cards for the price of your 1 card, and that ain't too bad either. So I've always liked Persecute. I'm going to give this card a 5.5 to start Friday off, man. Let's see what else we get. Card number 2 is Fire Elemental. We just did this card the other day, man. Let's go to Severed Legion here. 3 mana, 1 and 2 black for a 2/2 zombie with fear. That's the entire card. It's the whole card. Fear means that it can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. So a version of Intimidate, we'll say. Card just isn't good. Originally printed in Onslaught and mostly a drafty, I guess we'll put this in our zombie deck for a wild card, but not actually very good. I do like the art, though, for what it's worth. I would give this a 2.8. I feel like I never give cards 2.8. Severed Legion gets one. Swords to Plowshares, banned in Historic. Let's get all the way back. Let's put on that Bobby Womack and go way back to Revised Edition. Can we do it? Can we ever get there? How many times do you have to print the same card, Wizards? Jeez Louise, macaroni and cheese. It's never going to be over. There we go. We did it, everybody. Swords to Plowshares is a single white mana. You know what this card does. It's instant speed. Exile a creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. God. Is this, chat? I'm not live right now, but I guess YouTube comment section. Would I be right to say that this is the best removal spell ever printed in the history of Magic the Gathering? Name a better one. I'm actually asking, can you name it's possible that you could name a better one. I just can't come up with one off the top of my head. I really think that this is probably like the top best removal spell that's ever been printed. So I'm going to give Swords a solid 9.2. Is that okay? You guys all right with that? Because I'm doing it. Single white mana to remove any creature forever. If they gain some life, who cares? It's fine. Instant speed, 1 mana. Again, I really think there's an argument for this being the best of all time. The GOAT removal spell. So 9.2, and I'm not backing down. Prism Array is up next. Only ever printed in Battle for Zendikar. This is 5 mana, 4 and a blue for an enchantment with Converge. That means it enters the battlefield with a crystal counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. So it's Sunburst. Remove a crystal counter from Array to tap a creature, and you can pay 5. You can pay Wooburg to scry 3. Oh boy, that's really not great. Super not good. You know what it reminds me of? It was like a Parallax Wave or something like that, but nowhere near as good. Just not as good as that card. Man, it's going to cost you Wooburg to tap down 5 creatures. You could have just played a Sweeper. I don't think this is very good at all, actually. I think I remember liking it when it first came out because I'm weird sometimes. But like now that I read this card again, I'm like, it's really not good. It's like super ungood. We'll give this a 2.4, mostly because it's like unique. You don't see this stuff every day, right? Blood Speaker up next. That's neat art by Adam Rex. Originally printed in Champions of Kamigawa. 4 mana, 3 and a black for a 3/2 Ogre Shaman. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice Blood Speaker. If you do, search your library for a demon card, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle up your library. Whenever a demon comes into play under your control, return Blood Speaker from your yard to your hand. So it's got to last at least a turn, but it's also a tutor. It is a tutor. It's a tutor on a body that, although it has to last a turn, like tutors are pretty good in Commander. It's not bad. And then also, I like this ability too. Man, whenever a demon comes into play under your control, return it from your yard to your hand, thus going and getting another demon, and then you can block with it and go get another demon when you play a demon, and it's pretty good. How come I don't know this card? Like, I played in Champions, and I have seen this art 1,000 times. I just don't think I've ever really internalized this text box. It's actually okay, man. And still some money, too. Mostly because it's only ever been printed the one time. Well, it's on the list, too. But for some reason, it doesn't have a price on the list, which is odd. But I'm going to give this like a 5.3. You know, little commander tutor for a demon, and there are multiple combos with like really important demons in commander. So yeah, it's pretty good, actually. Turf War is up next from New Capenna Commander. I've never read it. It's 5 mana, 4 and a red for an enchantment. When it ETBs, for each player, put a contested counter on target player or land that player controls. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, if that player controls one or more lands with contested counters on them, that creature's controller gains control of one of those lands of their choice and untaps it. Okay, that's kind of neat. That is actually kind of neat. And so they'll keep the contested counter. So like if one player ends up getting a land from another player, that kind of means they definitely have 2 contested counters, or 2 lands with contested counters on them. So if you get on that guy or lady, whatever, you end up getting 2 lands. That's actually really, really neat. But I don't think it's very good either. I think that it actually isn't going to affect the board state like that much, but it does create an interesting game. But it's not like, outside of its like uniqueness and it's sort of being a cool, like well-designed Magic card in terms of stuff you don't see every day. I like all that about it, but it's just not very good. Bless its heart. It's just not actually very good. So unless I'm just dumb, you know what I mean? Unless I'm just super dumb. I don't really see it being worth 5 mana for this. So I'm going to give this a 3, I think is what we'll go with. Moving on to Sen Triplets. Yes. Alara Reborn originally printed. This is 5 mana, 2, a white, a blue, and a black for a 3/3 legendary artifact creature that is also a human wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. This turn, that player can't play spells or activated abilities and plays with his or her hand revealed. You can also play cards from that player's hand this turn, unless you were waiting on what I thought was so good about this card. It is that last line of text. So stupid. So amazing this can be your commander, dude. Really, really fun card here. Obviously, they can just like, wow, you know, this ability's on the stack or whatever, I guess. They can like use their activated abilities. They can play cards and stuff. But for the most part, you're like half mind slavering your opponent. Like on your turn, you play their cards, and that's always been like a really busted ability. So I like Sen Triplets. There is not really another commander like this in the world, and it's still a pretty good one too. So I'm going to have to give this a 7.3. I really am, dude. Triplets is such a good commander. It's such a fun commander. But it probably actually gets a 7.2. I know, that 10th of a point makes all the difference in the world. You were going to argue with me otherwise. But I think 7.2 is closer. It's a swamp. All basic lands get a 5. Pretty good. Pretty good art. I like anything with like, you know, a sunset or a moon or something like that on it. I think they did a good job here with the color palette on the sunset. So good job. Moving on to Rampaging Baloths, though. It's a good card, man. This is 6 mana, 4 and 2 green for a 6/6 beast with trample and landfall. Whenever a land ETBs under your control, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token. Why not? Also procs all your like, oh, a guy with 4 power entered the battlefield, so I get to draw a card and like all those effects and stuff. Just real good card, baby. Like any landfall deck's gonna pack this, but a whole lot of green commander decks that just play. They happen to be able to make green mana and play lands. They just play Rampaging Baloths. This will always be good, dude. I have a huge soft spot for this. I know it costs 6, and I also don't care. Just one of the best landfall payoffs of all time. Like easy, easy, easy. So let's give Rampaging Baloths like a 7.4. Am I allowed to do that? I don't care. I'm gonna do it anyway. Jigen, but it's not actually Jigen, it's Gyruda here. Gyruda, Doom of Depths is 6 mana, 4 and 2 Dimir hybrid mana for a 6/6 light legendary demon kraken with companion. Your starting deck can contain only cards with even converted mana costs if you want this to be your companion. And if it is your companion, you can cast it once from outside of the game. When Gyruda enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So for 6 mana, you get a 6/6 and also another huge dude. It's basically how this always worked when it was in Standard. And when it was in Standard, it was actually kind of feared for, I don't know, like 2 months there. The Gyruda deck was like a thing you would actually, play with or occasionally run into in the arena. Just a good card, man, but I don't know how good it is anymore. I really don't. I don't know how good this even would be as a commander. Although it'd be fun to build a deck around. So mostly because of its standard pedigree and because I think it's a unique commander, if nothing else, and I just won't shut up about those lately. I'm going to give this a 5.6. I think it actually really deserves that. It's a lot of mana value if you can do it right. Moving on is Vow of Lightning, the final card of the day. 3 mana, 2 and a red for an aura and a chance a creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has first strike, and cannot attack you or a planeswalker you control. So subtly, this is a pacifism. There's a red pacifism a little bit, and I really like that about it. Red just doesn't have all the ways in the world beyond Chaos Warp and other cards like it of taking out like whatever creature you want to take out, and this does that while also being really sweet in like an Aura's deck or something like that, like a build your own battleship, whatever people are calling those these days. Voltron, people call them Voltron decks, right? It's not, yeah. But I guess it's good in that, but I just really like it as a red pacifism. I'm going to give this card a solid 5. I really am. I'm going to give this card a 5. Seriously. I think it's worth every point of that, Red pacifism's a hell of a drug. I like it. That's all the cards for today. Was it Friday? Wednesday, Thursday? Yes, it was. I hope you have a good Friday. Whether you're actually, going out and doing something, that's up to you. You could be sitting at home eating popcorn and watching a movie you've seen like 1,000 times. It doesn't, just have fun. That's all I really care about. Love you guys. Bye.